Sunshine State. And today, you already guessed it, don't forget, it's daylight savings time. So we all lost an hour of sleep last night, unless you were one of those lucky folks who were able to go to bed early and possibly sleep in some of those other holidays that are coming up. An exciting time of year, St. Patrick's Day, just a week away. Spring equinox, which is an astronomical start of spring, 9 days away, and Easter only 21 days away. It's going to be here in no time. Something else that we're going to start to notice as early as this afternoon and evening is the amount of daylight that we're going to gain in March. And the farther north you are, obviously, the more you're going to gain that, especially towards those northern Great Plains. It's a big difference that everybody there notices. Spring break forecast over the next few days. Speaking of the Sunshine State, here's that forecast from Sunday into Tuesday in places like Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Panama City in the 70s and 60s with those highs. Staying dry, mostly sunny for the most part. It's going to be very, very nice over the next few days there. And comparing those sunrises in between Saturday and Sunday from daylight savings time, well, this makes us a huge difference here. Just an hour more of sunshine from that sunrise starting for us. And another spring break forecast here for you to end things off in Colorado. I know a lot of folks who visit Colorado to do some of that spring break skiing up in the Rockies. Well, here's that forecast. All mostly dry for the northern Rockies. But taking a look at that forecast moisture, we're tracking that first system moving through right now, but then Monday, that next one starts to rear its ugly head off the coast of the Pacific, and that gets a little bit closer towards us, bringing us our next chance of seeing some moisture. That forecast this morning, like I said, it's a pretty wet one, especially along that I-5 corridor from Washington into Oregon. A lot of that moisture starts to break up as it pushes farther to the east, but some of it holds together to impact areas of Idaho and Montana later tonight. Throughout Washington and Oregon, though, we'll see some more dry time as we head into the second half of the day on Sunday and the evening hours. Now, Monday, that next frontal boundary starts to move through, and we really start to see it dump quite a bit of heavy rain and snowfall across Washington and Oregon. A lot of that holds together as it pushes farther to the east across Idaho and Montana, too, and that did warrant some winter weather alerts until Monday morning. Right now, we do have some winter weather advisories along the spine of the Cascades and even a winter storm watch in southern Montana. However, that forecast accumulation shows those highest amounts along the spine of the Cascades, reaching from that international border all the way into southern Oregon. Upwards of about 3 feet of snow are possible in some of those spots. I think across Idaho and Montana, it's going to be a little bit more common to see 6 to 12 by Tuesday afternoon, but that rainfall, this is where that threat is as well, with some flooding concerns along the coastal areas. Upwards of about 3 to 5 additional inches of rain is possible, and even along the foothills of the Cascades. Those high temperatures throughout the day today, the 40s and 50s, are going to be pretty common across the board, and as you can see, it's pretty steady over the next 3 days to follow as well. Eugene, Oregon, some rainy days ahead of us over the next 3 days, but then we see some more dry time and even 70 degrees by Friday. That's pretty nice for us. Looking at the northern Rockies and into Wyoming, we could see some 60s even in Rapid City and Billings throughout the afternoon today. We start to cool things down over the next 3 days, though, so try to enjoy today, despite it being the last day of the weekend, but it's also pretty warm for us. Looking at the forecast, though, we are still tracking that snow chance reaching into portions of Idaho and onto the western Rockies by late tonight. Monday night, though, a lot of that spotty moisture is going to hold together a little bit better, and this one could even skim into portions of Wyoming. And at this point, that forecast precip looks kind of promising for upwards of about 6 to 12 inches of snow across the Rockies of Wyoming. It's going to be more common to see a foot of snow across those higher elevations of Idaho, though. Jackson, Wyoming, you have that high snow chance as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday, going to be a little bit warmer, so that rain chance is a lot higher for us. We start to cool things down on Thursday before a little bit of a warm up after that. And Missoula, Montana, showing us some 40s and 50s, that rain chance on Tuesday as well. Taking it down to Evergreen, Colorado, looks like somebody is too bad. We do still have some snow to talk about, and that's lake effect snow across Michigan. Warm temperatures across the central U.S. and seeing much dry time in that forecast. Starting things out by taking a look at some of that Great Lakes ice coverage. In total, only about 1.5% of all the Great Lakes are covered in ice. Michigan, Erie, and Ontario barely have any and no ice showing up, and it's still winter as far as astronomical winter goes. That forecast shows a mid to Michigan as well as areas of Ohio and reaching into Erie, Pennsylvania, going to be skimmed by quite a bit of snowfall throughout the day today. However, it's not our biggest snowfall that we've seen reach through this area. Then we see quite a bit of dry time leading into Monday and Tuesday. As far as forecast accumulation goes, we could see upwards of about 3 inches of snow across the mid to Michigan, but it's not going to be too common. I suspect most people see in between about 1 to 2 inches. That forecast temperature shows today is our cold day. We reach into the 50s on Monday and 60s by Tuesday. So if you see any of that snowfall today, don't expect it to stick around very long. Traverse City, we also see some rainfall in our forecast by Thursday and Friday, and we actually start to cool back down by the end of the week and weekend as well. Madison, Wisconsin, higher rain chance Thursday and Friday as our next system starts to move in. That brings us some cooler temperatures, but at least until that, we're pretty warm in those 60s. Looking at some of those snow reports coming out of Nebraska, it's no wonder those roads like I-80 saw such a problem throughout the past 2 days here. North Platte saw almost 2 feet of snow with 19 inches of snow. Now Callaway about 14.2 inches and Broken Bow a foot of snow. So those are all along that I-80 stretch here, and you could see that with those snowfall totals in the Central Plains. I-80 reaching through Lincoln as well as Kearney, North Platte approximately here, and you can see that's where that bullseye is over the last 2 days with those snowfall totals. However, the forecast throughout the next few days, very dry. We actually don't even see a lot of cloud coverage too, with those Sunday high temperatures already 67 degrees in Lincoln this afternoon. That's crazy to me. Also 71 in Dodge City, 49 in Peoria. So well above average temperatures, going to melt that snow quickly for areas of the Cornhusker State. And we stay in those 60s and 70s over the next 3 days as well. Grand Island, Nebraska, your next rain chance coming in on Thursday, and that cools us down a little bit. And our last stop in the Central Plains. Those temperatures above average for where we should be this time of year. That trend is continuing. Hopefully you're picking up on that here. We could see some 60s in Minneapolis as well as Madison, Wisconsin for early March here. And it's actually the warmest winter on record for quite a few of us across the northern plains and portions of South Dakota, Wisconsin, and reaching into Minnesota. That forecast shows very dry conditions over the next 2 days alone, but Monday night brings us a very small rain chance reaching into portions of North Dakota before some more sunshine by Tuesday. Now we're taking over to portions of Texas. This came out of NWS, Ohio over the weekend.
Yeah, not bad. You get the old poncho working. You can survive most things Mother Nature can throw at you.
Do you own a poncho?
No, I don't.
Exactly.
That's why. No, I don't.
I don't think I do either. I just rely on my raincoat.
I'm sure there is one somewhere in storage, somewhere in a closet back behind all the things you
for sure
forgot about until you move. But yeah, I'm sure there is one somewhere. I just don't know. I couldn't tell you what color it is, where it is, which are probably maybe the 2 most important things you need about a poncho.
A color?
Maybe. Or a size. Size is probably more important. There
you
go. Size is a little more important. Come out with a small on.
Child small.
Just rip it up. It's a trash bag. Anyway, we're going off the rails. Going off the rails here.
We are talking about one other place that I'm sure some folks would need a poncho in, and that's Watertown, New York. Shows us exactly why. We can see a low pressure system moving through those New England states and it's bringing some moisture, especially for areas and states along that international border. Looking at those flood alerts right now, we do still have some flood watches in effect throughout the rest of the day in areas of southern New Hampshire and southern Maine, because those are the spots expected to see the most rainfall throughout the rest of our Sunday today. And that forecast shows even by lunchtime, a lot of places are going to start to dry out. But unfortunately, this low almost kind of stalls over our area, and what wraps behind it, because winds go counterclockwise around a low pressure system, we start to see some more moisture reach into the area by late Sunday. It'll easily linger into Monday morning, especially for those higher elevations across New York, Vermont, and even into New Hampshire. These are the spots that could see the heaviest snowfall out of the system, but those coastal areas, that's who has the chance of seeing the heaviest rainfall. Speaking of forecast rain, we could see upwards of another inch of rain along that coast of Maine throughout the day today, and it's going to be another breezy one, of course, until about Monday night. So despite that low kind of starting to taper off for us throughout our Sunday, we still have to deal with a lot of that breeze well into the beginning of the work week for us. In fact, along the coast of Maine, from Portland all the way up in Eastport, we could see gusts up to 60 miles per hour as that cold front starts to reach through that area. So where you see those winds kind of converge later this morning, that's where that cold front is, and that's when we're expected to see those strongest winds up in portions of Maine. Now, it'll be a little bit breezy throughout the rest of our Sunday across the board, but we start to see those oranges and reds start to peak back up across the Northeast and even portions of the Mid-Atlantic throughout our Monday. So still another breezy day with up to about 45-mile-per-hour gusts possible on Monday. And on that note, those coastal areas, use some extra caution if you're in or near the coast throughout our Sunday, because we have some coastal flood concerns. Like we mentioned, those wave heights are going to be a little bit on the strong and tall side, upwards of about 8 to 12 feet, especially up in Maine where that cold front is starting to push through. But now we're taking you to the opposite side of the coast towards Washington on Saturday, towards the end of the day right now. Infrared satellite showing us a low pressure system making landfall onto areas of Washington and Oregon. Well, a parade of lows and fronts, if you will, is going to keep us pretty active over the next few days. Now, radar in the last 3 hours shows a lot of that rain and storm activity towards the coastline of Washington and Oregon, and it's even reaching over the mountains towards Spokane. But what we're looking at is the forecast ahead. We did see that forecast move into areas of Washington and Oregon throughout the day today, but a lot of that rainfall and snowfall makes another push as another system comes on shore late Monday. So looking at forecast rainfall, we could see upwards of about 2 to 4 inches of rain in addition to what's already on the ground along the coast and towards the foothills of the mountains. And those winter weather alerts are in effect until Tuesday right now, because we are expected to see some pretty heavy snow from the system. So today, a lot of that moisture kind of breaks up over the mountains. However, we start to see our next one take shape and take aim by Monday morning, and this one looks to hold together